So we are moving further off the pitch in our ranking episode, and today we are going to the left winger's position. This is actually going to be an interesting one because personally I believe that most of our names will come from recent times because this position exploded over recent times, maybe or maybe not, going by the look on Victor's face. But anyways, without wasting much time, we're starting with you, Max. Your number three pick for the top three left wingers in Premier League history.
Uh, Look, I had my three names maybe immediately pop in my head, but it was pretty hard to choose at least between number two and number three. And the only reason I guess I chose Son on number three spot that he lacks at trophies, obviously because he was playing for Spurs, but we all know that he was pretty much consistent throughout all time at Spurs. He managed to go to UCL finals even, and he even won a trophy with Spurs, which is kind of insane. He was always flashy, he was scoring, he was assisting, especially their duo with Kane was pretty much insane. And the only thing, as I said, he is number three only because of lack of trophies, so he is my number three.
Yeah, Victor, your pick.
Um, I'm picking Sadio Mane here. Like, okay, quality wise, I was gonna go with Mark Overmars, but only playing in the Prem for 3 seasons and then sending dick pics to your female coworkers at Ajax is not going to land you in my top three. So I'm going with Mane. I feel like he was a footballer's footballer, a true professional, especially while at Liverpool. He had the numbers, he had the swagger, he had the consistency. Was just a supremely talented player. And what really stood out for me all those years was his willing to work and work hard. You never saw Mane slacking ever, not in attack, not tracking back. I remember a mate of mine saying it's a good thing they switch sides in football games at halftime because with Mane and Robertson on the same flank, at least both sides of the pitch get ruined at the same time equally, you know? Um, I don't know. He was just a tremendous player, and as a Liverpool fan, I was gutted when he left. And I don't think in a Liverpool team he'll be properly replaced for the next decade.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, regardless of, despite the jersey I'm wearing, I don't think a sports player is going to make my top three list. I think there's only one position where a sports player would make my top three list without bias, or even if I try to be biased. So for this one, it was a close shout between Alexis Sanchez and Gareth Bale. And the reason I would slightly leave Sanchez out is because he did not dominate for so long. I mean, in his best 2 seasons, he was literally unplayable, but he did not dominate for so long. So I'm leaving Alexis Sanchez out, but I'm actually going with Gareth Bale because when you think about left wingers, like his pace, everything he had was just simply it was just simply unplayable. I personally feel like you don't need to, for individual rankings, you don't need to win trophies before we determine whether you are the best or not. And my reference is Steven Gerrard for that. Whether you win trophies or not, we can see whether you were good in your position regardless. So I think Gareth Bale, my number three pick here. So yeah, moving on to number two, Max.
Well, now I was thinking about last minute change between number one and number two, but let's keep it same as I had at my head. Okay, number two is Mane, and I said that personally I feel like probably even all three of my list are pretty much on the same level. But Mane won everything with Liverpool, obviously, every single tournament he could. And he was even probably more consistent than Son because a couple of last seasons Son wasn't performing that good. But Mane was always the same. He was always fast, assisting, scoring, doing pretty much good shit with his agility, and he was always fresh every single moment on the pitch. And this is also shows how good he was as a worker, as Victor said. So this makes him quietly above Son for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Victor, your number two pick.
The world must be coming to an end because my number two is Son. So I actually Max ranked the Liverpool player higher than I'm ranking that Liverpool player. I know. I mean, Son. Okay, you can cue the Spursy jokes, but you need to put some respect to his name. The club, absolutely a walking meme. No arguments about that. But I don't think anyone can fault Son for it. He has always worked hard. He has led by example even when he wasn't captain yet. He's been a fixture in this division for so long and rarely put a foot wrong. I honestly shudder to think, and I'm sure Spurs fans will agree with me, I shudder to think what Spurs would be like, what they would have been like this past decade without Son Heung-min. Um, if they don't, if that's not a scary prospect to them, they honestly don't deserve him in their side.
Yeah, fair enough. And without wasting much time, my number two pick is obviously Mane. And for reasons that both of you have already explained, like he won everything, he was unplayable. And I think what I like about Mane is that he left when the ovation was still high. And in fact, the only reason I would not want to pick someone like a Sterling on my list is because he started well and then he let himself just run down. So when you think about Sterling, you think about his current form rather than what he has actually done in the past. So, but Mane, from Southampton to Liverpool, and then when he was no longer at his best, he left when the ovation was high. So all we can remember about Mane is peak, 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 peak periods. So Mane is literally my number two. I don't need to explain that, obviously. And moving on to the number one spot, Max, over to you.
Yeah, here's obviously Azar. Even after his stupid move to Real Madrid and what happened next, he was the biggest talent of English football. In Prem, not England, etc. Uh, and he won two trophies with Chelsea, which is also quite nice in a current date. And he was probably the perfect winger you want to have in your team. When needed, he was helping you in defense. When needed, he is leading your team to attack. He's scoring crucial goals. His long shots are probably still one of the best I've seen in Premier League history. So I'd say he was like obviously the perfect winger you want in your team. So that's why he's number one for me.
Right. Yeah, Victor, over to you, your number one pick.
You can cue on the hate mail if you want. I'm leaving Hazard out of my top three. For me, it's Thierry Henry in the number one spot. I know a
Not
lot of
wrong.
people think of him. A lot of people think of him as a center forward, and I accept that reasoning. Okay, if you look at minutes, but to me, in my mind, he'll always be a left winger. I'm old enough to have played USM '98. You know that old timey football manager game where you could like rig matches among other things. And he was classified as an AFL there. And fantasy aside, Henry did play well over 100 games as a left winger, and he did that to great effect. I feel like my argument stands, and also from a playing style perspective, he always screamed winger to me, or inside for inverted winger. Sorry. Um, more than striker. Even the way he approaches chances, even when he was playing as a striker, you could see what he used to be. You could see what he was at his core. Apart from this positional dilemma and argument, I don't think I need to justify my number one pick too much. Amazing skills, great numbers, good leadership. Henri was genuinely special. He was the best winger to ever lace up a pair of boots in the Premier League, at least until a certain player decided to go back to England. And Max, before you say anything, not Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right. Right. Anyways, the only funny enough, it's funny Victor mentioned Henry because I did think about that too. But for positional bias and nostalgia, where we know Henry as, I decided to leave Henry for another position. But like Victor is actually spot on because up until 1999, Henry in his career played as a winger. He was a winger, even for France in France 98. Henry played as a winger. It was Arsene Wenger that converted him to a nine. So it is understandable if somebody that watched him then saw him primarily for the position that he was known for at the time. So you can't fault Victor here, but I'm still leaving Henry here because I'm putting him for another position I have in mind. I'm going with Hazard, Eden Hazard here too, once again. And the reason I'm obviously going with Hazard is just the legacy. Actually, when people mention, I like to think about positions with legacies. The same reason I would not put Henry in the winger position is because he did not make a legacy there. He made a legacy somewhere else on the pitch. But when it comes to the left winger position, I don't think much players did more in terms of legacy than Eden Hazard. He was also unplayable. He had everything. He passed the eye test as well. He passed the numbers test as well up until he went to Real Madrid and became, a bag of chips. But for the Premier League's sake, I'm sticking with Eden Hazard. And that's all we have for our picks in this top three left wingers position. I mean, it's very debatable to our viewers out there. Do you agree with Victor that Thierry Henry deserves a stake in this position, or do you think Henry is better off placed somewhere else? We want to hear from you in the comment section below, and we would like to hear your thoughts on this.